So we're going to continue with identifying characteristics of quadratic functions. In this video, we're going to focus on how to do it when given the equation of the graph. So when you do this, there's an important formula you can use. It's for the axis symmetry. It's x equals negative b over 2a. And that formula is going to help you to find the axis symmetry. It's going to help you to find your vertex. It's going to help you to know where your maximum or minimum value would be at, as well as the number that's in your range. So that formula is going to be used a lot. So here we have an equation. Our first thing we're going to do is identify the y-intercept. So remember, your y-intercept is your c value. So here our y-intercept is at 5. Now we want to find our vertex. We need to use the formula for the axis of symmetry. So again, the formula for axis symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. So I'm going to go ahead and label a, b, and c in my formula. So here my a is negative 6, my b is negative 12, and my c is 5. So I'm going to plug in. I have negative. For b, I'm plugging in negative 12 over 2, and for a, I'm plugging in the negative 6. On the numerator here, 2 negatives become positive, so I get positive 12. On the denominator, I get negative 12, and if we divide, that comes out to negative 1. So my x equals negative 1, and this is actually our formula for our axis of symmetry. It's also our x from our vertex. So now we just need to find the y value for our vertex. So I'm going to use my answer here, and I'm going to plug it back into that original equation to figure out my y value. So let's write down that original equation. So instead of f of x, I'm just going to write y equals, because remember, f of x and y equals is the same thing. And everywhere I see an x, I'm going to plug in negative 1. So everywhere I had an x, I'm going to plug in negative 1, and then I can work this out. Negative 1 squared is 1. Now I can multiply. If I add these from left to right, I get 11. So my y value is 11. So that's the y value for my vertex. Now for direction of opening, remember you want to look at your A. So I'm going to look at my A over here. Let me copy this down. So since my A is a negative number, that tells me my graph is going to be opening downward. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch this. So since it's opening downward, that means the vertex would be on top. So my vertex would actually be a maximum. And when you want to give the value, this would be at 11, because you give the y value of the vertex. Let me go ahead and do a nicer sketch here. So we wanted to do a nicer sketch. We know our y-intercept's at positive 5, so I could sketch that. Our vertex is at negative 111, so I could sketch that. And then we know it's opening downward, so I could now connect my downward U. Since the vertex is on top, it's a maximum, and that would be at 11, because you use the y value, because for max and min, you're talking about how high up something is. For domain, since this one's going to keep going left and right, we know the domain's all real numbers. For the range, we're going to put the letter y. Since this one's going down, I'm going to use less than or equal to. And on the top, it's going down from 11. So again, you use that y value from the vertex. The next problem, I'm going to go a little faster. So our y-intercepts are c, that would be at -3. For vertex and axis symmetry, we use our formula, x equals -b over 2a. Here my a is 1, my b is -10, my c is -3. So I'm going to go ahead and plug those into my formula. On the top, I get +10 over 2. So my x for my vertex is at 5. This is also my axis of symmetry. So axis symmetry is x equals 5. My vertex begins with a 5. Now to find the y value, I'm going to take my formula and I'm going to plug in 5 everywhere I see an x. So my y value is -28. I can include that in my vertex. The direction of opening, if we look at the formula, it's a positive x squared. Remember, if your a is positive, here it's +1, then your graph's going to be opening upward. So this one's going to be an upward eel. So let's do a little sketch now to help us figure out some other stuff. So I know my y-intercept's at -3. My vertex is at 5, -28. And I know it's facing upward, so I'll connect this u going upward. Now if I look at that sketch, I can see my vertex is on the bottom, so it's a minimum. And that would be at -28 because you use the y value from the vertex. That's saying that this height is at -28. Our domain, since it keeps going left and right, will be all real numbers. And our range, if we look bottom to top, we'll see here it keeps going up, but on the bottom, it goes all the way down to -28. So our y's go up or greater than or equal to -28.